Hemoglobin is one of the most important proteins in our body because it carries oxygen in the blood. It is found inside red blood cells, and its main job is to pick up oxygen in the lungs and release it into the capillaries. So it's like a shuttle dropping it off in the capillaries so that the body or the tissues can use it properly for whatever it needs. And what's so fascinating about hemoglobin is that it doesn't just passively hold on to oxygen. It responds to changes in the body, particularly changes in the pH, so that the oxygen is bound tightly in the lungs, but it's released efficiently in the tissues. This ability is explained by a mechanism called the Bohr effect. But to understand how the Bohr effect works properly, we need to first look at what hemoglobin is even made of. So hemoglobin is a protein with 4 subunits, and inside each subunit, there's a small molecule called heme. Heme is a ring-shaped structure with an iron atom at its center, and that iron atom is the exact spot where oxygen binds. Without heme, hemoglobin will not be able to carry oxygen at all, since each hemoglobin molecule has 4 heme groups and can carry up to 4 oxygen molecules at a time. When oxygen binds to the iron in one heme, something interesting happens. The iron shifts slightly into a flat plane on the heme ring. Even though that's a tiny little movement, it triggers a giant ripple effect that changes the entire shape of the protein. So hemoglobin flips to what we call the tense state or the T state, which has a low affinity for oxygen, into an R state or a relaxed state, which has a much higher affinity for oxygen. And because of this, once the first oxygen molecule binds, it becomes easier for the next ones to attach. So, then after another one attaches and another one attaches, causing that ripple effect. And this is something called cooperative binding, and explains how hemoglobin can load up on oxygen so efficiently in the lungs. Inside the lungs, the conditions are perfect for oxygen binding. So oxygen concentration is high, and the blood here has a higher pH, so it's less acidic. And under these conditions, hemoglobin spends most of its time in a relaxed, high affinity state, where nearly all of its binding sites are filled. This ensures that as blood leaves the lungs, hemoglobin is almost fully saturated with oxygen and ready to deliver to the tissues. Then when blood reaches the capillaries, the environment changes. The oxygen levels lower because the cells are using it up for energy, and at the same time, the tissues are producing something called carbon dioxide as a waste product. Carbon dioxide dissolves in the blood and reacts with water to form carbonic acid, which breaks apart into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate. The increase in hydrogen ions lower the pH, making the blood more acidic. When the pH drops, the hemoglobin's affinity to oxygen decreases, which means hemoglobin is more likely to release the oxygen it's carrying. This is part of the Bohr effect at work because it's ensuring that oxygen gets dropped off exactly where it's most needed. This system is a perfect example of how the body uses chemistry to match with the supply and demand, or the needs of the body and the tissues. In the lungs, where the oxygen is plentiful and carbon dioxide is low, hemoglobin holds on to oxygen tightly. In the tissues, however, where the oxygen is scarce and carbon dioxide is high, hemoglobin releases it. And by pairing oxygen transport with these changes in pH, the body ensures that active tissues, those producing a lot more carbon dioxide and using up more energy, receive the oxygen that it's needed in the perfect place and at the right time. So, in summary, hemoglobin's special design allows it to carry oxygen efficiently and release it where it matters the most. The heme groups with their iron centers are the actual binding sites for oxygen. And then when oxygen binds, hemoglobin changes shape, making it easier for the oxygen to attach. In the lungs, high oxygen and higher pH make the hemoglobin hold oxygen tightly. And then in the tissues, carbon dioxide lowers the pH, which make hemoglobin let oxygen go. This constant back and forth system keeps every cell in the body supplied with the oxygen that it needs to survive.